It started with a look that didn't belong to a casual visit, the kind of look that carries a secret it can't hold much longer. She noticed it the moment he stepped into the doorway. Her husband's friend stood there, shoulders tight, smile forced, eyes searching the room like he was bracing for something. This wasn't how he usually arrived. He was normally loud, relaxed, full of easy jokes. Today he seemed smaller, and somehow older. She offered him a seat and a warm drink. Her voice stayed calm, but her heart had already begun to race. Her husband was upstairs, finishing a call. "Just a few minutes," he had said. Those few minutes stretched thin. Silence pressed into the space between them. The friend finally cleared his throat. He clasped his hands together, then released them, then did it again. "I didn't come to cause trouble," he said softly. His voice sounded careful, like every word had been rehearsed. She leaned forward slightly. That was all it took to open the door. He exhaled and looked down at the floor. "I came because I'm worried about him," he said. Her chest tightened. Worried was not a word she expected to hear. She asked what he meant. Her tone stayed gentle, but her thoughts ran fast. The friend hesitated again. Then he nodded to himself, as if deciding something important. "I've known him a long time," he said. "Long enough to know when something isn't right." She listened without interrupting. She had learned that sometimes silence invited honesty. He explained that lately her husband had been distant, not just tired, not just busy, distracted in a way that lingered, quiet in moments where he used to speak freely. "He forgets things," the friend added, "small things, conversations we just had." That caught her attention. She felt a flicker of recognition she wasn't ready to name. The friend went on, choosing his words with care. "He laughs at the right times, he shows up, but something's off." She thought of the late nights, the long pauses before answers. She thought of how her husband sometimes stared at nothing, like he was searching for a memory just out of reach. She had brushed it off. Everyone went through phases. But hearing it from someone else changed everything. It made the concern real. "I didn't want to say anything," the friend admitted. "I kept telling myself it wasn't my place." He looked up at her then. His eyes were full of worry, not judgment. "But I care about him," he said, "and I care about you." That was when her throat tightened, because concern like that doesn't come lightly. She asked if something specific had happened, an argument, a mistake, a secret. The friend shook his head. "No, nothing like that." He paused, then said quietly, "It feels like he's carrying something alone." Those words settled deep. They echoed against moments she had tried to ignore. She remembered how her husband stopped talking about work, how he avoided certain questions with a gentle smile. She remembered nights when he held her hand a little tighter, like he was afraid of losing the moment. The friend stood up slowly. "I didn't come with answers," he said. "I came because I didn't want you to be the last to know," he added, "whatever this is." Before she could respond, footsteps sounded on the stairs. Her husband's voice drifted into the room, warm and familiar. The friend straightened his posture. The worry slipped behind a polite expression. Her husband smiled when he saw them together. He had no idea what had just been shared. She looked at him differently now, with a tenderness edged by fear. As they spoke about ordinary things, her mind raced ahead. What was he hiding from himself? What was he protecting her from? And how long had he been struggling in silence? She reached for her husband's hand. He squeezed back, unaware of the storm beginning to form. In that moment, she understood one thing clearly. This wasn't about suspicion. It was about love, and the quiet ways it asks for attention before it's too late. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. As the friend prepared to leave, he met her eyes once more. There was a silent plea there. "Please see him. Please don't wait too long." And as the door closed behind him, she realized the hardest part wasn't what she had learned. It was what she now had to face. She didn't sleep that night. Not really. Her body rested, but her mind kept walking in circles. Every small moment replayed itself with new meaning. In the quiet hours before morning, she listened to her husband's breathing. Slow, steady, familiar. He looked peaceful, which somehow made everything harder. She wondered how long someone could look calm on the outside while feeling lost within. She wondered how many signs she had missed. Morning arrived softly. Sunlight spilled across the kitchen floor like nothing had changed. Her husband kissed her cheek before reaching for his coffee. The same routine, the same smile. But now she watched him closely, not with suspicion, but with care. He hesitated before opening his laptop, paused like he'd forgotten why he reached for it. "Long day ahead?" she asked casually. Her voice stayed light on purpose. He nodded. "Yeah, just a lot to think about." That answer lingered longer than it should have. A lot to think about. After he left, she sat alone at the table. The house felt quieter than usual. She thought about calling the friend, asking more questions. But something told her not to. This was between her and her husband now. Later that afternoon, she decided to do something simple, something familiar. She pulled out an old photo album from the shelf, the kind that smelled faintly of time. There they were. Younger, laughing, unburdened. Her husband's eyes in those photos were bright, present, certain. She compared them to the man she had kissed goodbye that morning. Still loving, still kind, but heavier, like someone carrying invisible weight. That evening, she cooked his favorite meal. Nothing fancy, just comforting. When he walked in, he smiled wider than usual. Relief crossed his face. "You didn't have to do all this," he said, but his tone gave him away. They ate slowly, talking about small things. She resisted the urge to rush the moment. Some conversations need space to breathe. After dinner, they sat on the couch. No television, no phones, just the quiet they used to enjoy, the kind that didn't feel empty. She rested her head on his shoulder. He stiffened for a moment, then relaxed. "You okay?" she asked softly. Not accusing, not urgent. "Yeah," he said quickly, too quickly. She waited. Silence again did its work. He sighed, a deep one this time. "I feel tired," he said, but not the kind sleep fixes. Her heart responded before her mind could stop it. She placed her hand over his. "You don't have to carry everything alone," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stared at the wall. She could almost see the struggle behind his eyes, the debate between speaking and staying quiet. "I don't want to worry you," he finally said. "That's all." She turned to face him. "I'm already worried," she said gently. "That's what love does." His eyes softened, but fear still lived there. "I don't even know how to explain it," he admitted. "That's the problem." She nodded, understanding more than he realized. "You don't have to explain it all at once," she said. "Just don't shut me out." He leaned his forehead against hers. For a moment, the world narrowed to that touch. "I've been forgetting things," he confessed quietly. "Little things at first." Her breath caught, but she stayed calm. She had expected this. "Then bigger things," he continued. "Thoughts, words, moments." She squeezed his hand, encouraging him forward. "I keep telling myself it's stress," he said, "but part of me knows it's more." The room felt heavier. Truth has weight. She wanted to promise everything would be fine, but she chose honesty instead. "Whatever it is," she said, "we'll face it together." He looked at her like he wanted to believe that, like hope was something fragile. "There's something else," he said. His voice dropped. She held her breath, ready for what might come. He hesitated, then pulled away slightly. Not from her, from the moment. "Tomorrow," he said. "I'll tell you tomorrow." Her heart ached at the delay, but she nodded. Sometimes courage needs time, and pressure can break it. That night, as they lay in bed, she stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow echoed loudly in her thoughts. What was he afraid to say? And would it change everything they knew? She turned toward him. He was already awake. Their eyes met in the dark, both full of questions. And in that silence, she sensed the truth, waiting just beyond reach, closer than ever. Morning arrived sooner than she expected. Sleep had barely touched either of them. They moved through the early hours quietly, soft steps, careful glances. Coffee brewed, but neither of them drank much. The air felt delicate, like a held breath. He sat across from her at the table, hands folded, eyes distant. She didn't rush him. She remembered what she had promised. When he finally looked up, his expression had changed. Not fear this time, resolve. "I've been scared," he began. Saying it out loud seemed to steady him. She nodded slowly, letting him continue. "It started months ago," he said. "I'd lose my train of thought mid-sentence." He smiled faintly, without humor. "I joked about it at first." She remembered those jokes. She remembered laughing along. "Then I missed an appointment," he said. One I'd written down twice. Her fingers tightened around her mug. She stayed silent. "I forgot a story you told me," he continued. "One that mattered to you." That one hurt him the most. She could hear it in his voice. "I saw the look on your face," he said softly. "And I knew I couldn't pretend anymore." He leaned back in his chair. Exhaustion showed plainly now. "I went to see someone," he admitted. "A specialist." Her heart skipped. This was new. "You went alone?" she asked, not accusing, just surprised. He nodded. "I wanted to be sure before I scared you." The room felt suddenly smaller, the walls closer. "They ran tests," he said, "asked questions I didn't know how to answer." He paused, swallowed hard. "They said it could be stress," he added quickly, "but they want more tests." The word tests echoed, unsettling, unfinished. She reached across the table, took his hands in hers. "Thank you for telling me," she said. Her voice stayed steady through effort. He looked relieved, like he had been holding his breath for months. "I didn't want to become a burden," he said. "That's what scared me most." She shook her head gently. "You could never be that." Tears welled in his eyes. He blinked them away. "I keep imagining the worst," he admitted. "What if I change?" She squeezed his hands tighter. "What if you don't?" she replied. He let out a quiet laugh, one filled with both hope and sadness. They sat there for a long moment, letting truth settle between them. Later that day, she called his friend, not to question him, but to thank him for caring enough to speak. The friend sounded relieved. "I was hoping you'd talk," he said. That evening, they went for a walk, just around the neighborhood. Familiar streets felt different now, more precious. He pointed out small details, a blooming tree, a child's laughter. "I'm trying to stay present," he said, "even when my mind wanders." She wrapped her arm through his. "You're here," she said. "That's enough." As the days passed, she noticed changes, not worsening, but honesty, openness. He told her when he felt foggy, when words slipped away. She learned patience in new ways, in pauses, in repetition. But fear still lived quietly beneath it all, waiting. One afternoon, the phone rang. He was in the other room. She heard his voice change mid-conversation, tight, controlled. When he came back, his face was pale, eyes unfocused. "They scheduled the next appointment," he said, his voice barely steady. "When?" she asked. He hesitated, then answered. Soon, he said. Sooner than expected. Her heart raced. She masked it with a nod. That night she lay awake again, listening to the familiar rhythm of his breath. She wondered what answers they would receive, and which questions would remain. She turned toward him. He was watching her. I'm glad you know now, he whispered, no matter what happens. She pressed her forehead to his. So am I, she replied. But as she closed her eyes, one thought refused to leave. What if understanding the situation was only the beginning? And what if the next truth changed everything they thought they knew? The day of the appointment arrived quietly. No dramatic signs, no warning bells. Just a gray morning and a shared silence, the kind that feels heavier than words. They drove together. The radio stayed off. Her husband stared out the window. She kept her eyes on the road. Neither of them knew what to say. Sometimes love speaks best by staying present. The waiting room smelled faintly of clean air and patience. Soft chairs, low voices. He filled out forms carefully, double-checking each line. She noticed his hand tremble slightly. He tried to hide it. When his name was called, he stood slowly. She stood with him. They walked in together. This time, he didn't ask her to stay behind. The specialist spoke calmly, asked thoughtful questions. He answered honestly, even when it was uncomfortable. She watched his face closely, trying to read between expressions. After what felt like hours, the conversation paused. The specialist leaned back. There are a few possibilities, the specialist said gently. We need more clarity. Not answers, not yet. But also not fear, not outright. More observation, more time. They left with pamphlets and follow-up dates, all written carefully in his notebook. In the car, neither spoke right away. Relief and uncertainty tangled together. It could be nothing, he finally said, his voice hopeful but guarded. It could be something manageable, she replied, meeting his gaze at a red light. That night, they told no one, not yet. They needed space to absorb it themselves, to find their footing again. Days passed. A strange calm settled in. He started keeping small notes, gentle reminders. She helped without making it obvious, turning support into routine. They laughed more, not because things were easy, but because laughter reminded them they were still them, still connected. One evening, his friend stopped by again. This time, he looked relieved. I'm glad you're not alone, the friend said quietly. His eyes met hers with gratitude. Her husband smiled, a genuine one. Thank you for caring, he told him. I needed that push. As weeks went on, some fears softened, others lingered. There were days he felt sharp and clear, days that felt foggy. She learned not to measure progress by perfection, only by presence. One night, as they folded laundry together, he paused, a distant look crossing his face. She waited, didn't interrupt. I was afraid you'd see me differently, he said, his voice low. She stepped closer. I see you more clearly, she replied. He swallowed hard, emotion rising. What if I can't be the same? He asked. She took his hands. We don't need the same, she said. We need honest. We need together. He nodded slowly, letting the words settle. But deep down, she knew something else was coming, a final piece still missing. The follow-up appointment loomed, closer each day, and with it, the possibility of clarity or change. The night before, he couldn't sleep. Neither could she. They lay facing each other, hands entwined. Whatever they say tomorrow, he whispered, promise me something. She nodded, already knowing. Promise we don't let fear decide how we love, he said. Tears filled her eyes. I promise, she said. But as she held him in the dark, A quiet question echoed inside her. Was love strong enough to carry them through whatever came next? Because tomorrow might finally bring answers, and answers have a way of changing everything. The morning light felt different, like it knew something they didn't. They dressed slowly, carefully. Neither rushed the moment. Every movement felt intentional. The drive was quieter than before. Not heavy this time. Resolved. Steady. In the office, the specialist greeted them with a calm smile, one that carried clarity. They sat side by side, hands touching. This gives us a clearer picture, the specialist said gently. No rushing, no sharp edges. He explained that the changes were real, but early, manageable with support, monitored with care. No dramatic language, no final sentences, just a path forward, one step at a time. Her husband exhaled slowly, like he had been holding his breath for months. So I'm not losing myself? He asked quietly. No, the specialist replied. You're learning how to protect yourself. Those words landed softly, powerfully. On the way home, they stopped for breakfast, a small cafe they loved. They talked about ordinary things, weekend plans, a movie they wanted to see. Life still moving, still open. Later that afternoon, they sat together on the porch, sunlight warming their faces. I spent so long afraid of the unknown, he said. I forgot to live in what I had. She leaned her head on his shoulder. We still have so much, she said. That evening, they called his friend, shared the news. Relief filled the line, gratitude too. I'm proud of you, the friend said. Both of them felt it. As weeks turned into months, routines formed, healthy ones. Notes, conversations, check-ins, teamwork. There were still hard days, moments of frustration, but there was also laughter, patience, love, adjusted but not diminished, stronger in its honesty. One quiet night, he took her hand, eyes steady. Thank you for seeing me, he said, even when I couldn't see myself clearly. She smiled through tears. That's what we promised each other. Years later, when they looked back, they didn't remember fear first. They remembered courage. The courage to speak, to listen, to face uncertainty together, without turning away. And she often thought of that first visit, that worried look in a friend's eyes, how one honest moment had changed everything, not by breaking them, but by bringing them closer than ever before. Sometimes understanding the situation doesn't arrive all at once. Sometimes it arrives through love, and when it does, it changes not just what you see, but how deeply you choose to stay.